Hi, it's Michael from DNA here, and in the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to think about how we can work creatively with Sonocent Audionotetaker. Now, when I'm working on a one-to-one basis with students who've maybe received this software in relation to a specific learning difference, such as dyslexia or dyspraxia, I first just try to outline the difference between listening back passively to a recording of a really long lecture or using Audionotetaker to modify that lecture, and that might mean adding your own slides or moving slides around, color coding the audio to make it easier to digest. By the time we finish the session, the general consensus is that the more you put energy into making your audio note into a multi-sensory experience, taking in visual elements as well as audio and some text as well, then the more memorable this lecture is going to be. So here we are back in Audionotetaker, and I've loaded up my introduction to inspiration presentation that I was working on in the previous video. Firstly, I just want to draw your attention to this text window in the middle of the screen. So now I could decide that I want to go and make some notes on this slide here. I could jump straight to this part, type my notes into this section of the screen, and if I want to listen back to what was being said at this exact slide, I can place the cursor next to the first blue block there and just press the play button. Additionally, you'll have to think about making sure that you can view your map comfortably. And there we are, there's me talking about inspiration mind maps. Now, it's worth having a think about these blue blocks here. These blue blocks are visual representations of the audio in the lecture. And with this blue block here, for instance, we can just select it if we don't want it. Just try and get that one on its own. And you can press the delete key. So you can edit out sections of the lecture which aren't relevant. Now, you don't need to be scared that you're damaging your recording here. If I go back into all audio files, it will show me all the different audio files that Audionotetaker has found on my computer. Our introduction to inspiration that we loaded in earlier is still there. And if I double clicked on it again, it would create a brand new lecture. See, we've actually got two versions of the same lecture now. And I could save that with a different name. Every time you import audio into an audio note in the way that I've showed you, it's actually duplicating that audio and inserting it into this specific audio note. So that means you can have 10 different versions of the same lecture that all look slightly different. And it also means you shouldn't worry too much about moving things around if you want them in a different place. So for instance, as well as deleting audio, I could take this block of audio and drag it right to the end here. So this isn't going to make much sense, but I'll just play it back to show you. And minus to zoom in and out. You'll want to know keyboard shortcuts for zooming in and out. Now you can use... Alright, so I've just jumped right back to the very beginning of my sentence there because I've moved the audio around. Now have a look at these controls on the right hand side of the screen. These are going to be important later on because you might want to add in an additional slide at exactly that point and split the audio there. So if I click on split chunk in the corner, it makes a little space between these two little bits of blue. Now I can use this button at the top of the screen, insert section break, and we've got a space where we can add in additional slides. So for instance, let's say that at this point the lecturer had said that they wanted to quickly jump back to slide 3. So now you can just go up, go to slide 3, right click, copy it, scroll back down and paste it in that space. So, you know, if you've made index marks in your slides and you're following along happily and then suddenly the lecturer deviates from the way that the presentation is running, you can always fix that later on quite easily. Additionally, if I go ahead and delete this slide, and right click in that space, I can import my own images. If I've got an image that I think more effectively represents what the lecturer is saying there, it could just be that the slide has a lot of text in it. You might want to make those notes here in the text pane and replace this section with a diagram or with just an image that you know is going to help you to remember key points when you're in an exam situation later on. Now you can also use this icon at the top of the screen, which is the remove section break button, and that will remove the section break wherever your cursor is and stick the audio back into the previous section. That's quite useful if a lecturer has decided that they haven't got enough time to do 4 or 5 slides. So you can go through and delete the slides that you don't want, and then use this control at the top of the screen to get rid of the empty space. The reason I've shown you that as well, though, is because I want to show you one last tool in this video, and that is the camera button at the top of the screen. If you have the cursor at the end of a section of audio, and you click on the camera button, this gives you this window which you can use to snip sections of documents, anything where it isn't easy to copy and paste an image. So for instance, I could take this window, I could jump into a PDF file that I already have open. So I'm going to use this little diagram here, which is a PDF from a PDF about inspiration. I'm going to draw around this diagram just by dragging the box, and then I'm going to click on this icon, capture the area. Now, that doesn't look like it's done anything. If I shut this down now and go back into Audionotetaker, it's inserted a slide in between these two slides with the image that I've cut out from my PDF file. Now, I've just scratched the surface here, but hopefully what this video has demonstrated is that there is huge scope for creativity, and the more creative you are with your lectures, the more easily you're going to be able to remember the content.